The process of presidential election in Sri Lanka begins after Gotabaya Rajapaksa resigned as the president of Sri Lanka. The process to elect a new president is now in full swing. Members of Sri Lankan Parliament met for a brief session on Saturday to announce the vacancy in the presidency. Lanka's new president is going to be elected on 20th of July. Sri Lanka's former Prime Minister and acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe and main opposition leader Sajith Premadasa are amongst the 4 leaders who have joined the race to become the next president. Marxist JVP leader Anura Kumara and Dulas Alahaperuma, a breakaway SLPP candidate, are the other 2 leaders who have announced their candidacy. The biggest reason behind this crisis was the economic crisis that was caused by government policies. Food shortage, rising inflation brought Sri Lanka's 20 million population on the streets. Ashutosh Mishra is now joining us live from Colombo. Ashutosh, what is the situation right there? Lanka, of course, been crippled by crisis, continues to remain our top focus. But as far as the presidential candidacy is concerned, who all are in the fray at the moment?
Just next 3 days are really going to be crucial when the new leadership will come into power in the island. So what we're hearing that Ranil Wickremesinghe, as the SLPP proposes, he could also be the presidential candidate. But the SLF, who has been the part of the ruling coalition, has refused to support them. In fact, several other parties within the coalition government have decided rather to sit in opposition than supporting Ranil Wickremesinghe. And yet again, when he is proposed as a presidential candidate, again the fury could be back on the street. The people may out because they have also been opposing Ranil Wickremesinghe's presidential being a president of the island. Clearly, at the same time, the opposition candidate who has also been put up, though the numbers are very less, but since several the faction from the coalition parties are agreed to support the opposition, their tallies goes up to 78, 80 out of the 123 seats that are required in the parliament. So Sajith Premadasa is amongst the one belonging from the political background. Clearly, what we are hearing, the ruling party, there was talk to make this speaker, Abhivardhane, that he could be also the presidential candidate, but that doesn't seem so working out at the moment. In fact, the member of parliament from Colombo, Harsha De Silva, is also mulling up to file the nomination as a presidential candidate. But what we are seeing, because there are certain understanding being worked out within the government and the opposition parties, the idea is to, since it is going to be all-party government, if the ruling party has a presidential candidate, then the Prime Minister will be from the opposition come. And perhaps that formula will be worked upon, likely to be resolved in just a couple of days, 19th when the nominations will be filed, 20th when there will be voting, and most likely by 20th evening, the island will announce who going to be its next president, who going to be its next Prime Minister, and of course several cabinet members are also likely to be, change perhaps. But at the time, there could be change of guards in the island, but the larger issue that remains to be addressed here is the economic crisis. What will be those key policies, those key decisions that will be worked first to grow its foreign reserve, because that has been totally exhausted. Also, there is a foreign debt from several countries, including China. How will that be dealt upon? And clearly, when it comes to the importing oil, when it comes to importing fuel, food, medicines, how that will be worked upon? Because what we are seeing, the situation in Colombo, yesterday I visited the rural part of Sri Lanka, in Negombo and several other, the coastal line, which has more than 2.5 million population of the fishermen community, several other people section were totally affected. At the moment, school, colleges, everything shut down because of the transportation issue. There is a soaring prices, but when the prices have gone multifold up. So those are the key issues that
here, Ashutosh, is Ranil Wickremesinghe as the presidential candidate nominee after all of what has happened?
Well, largely the anger was against Rajapaksa and Rajapaksa administration and his family. Ranil Wickremesinghe being close to the Rajapaksa clouds, that perhaps was not acceptable to the people. But what the ruling party is mulling, that if Ranil Wickremesinghe is made as a president, perhaps he will have to take decisions according to the cabinet, since entire new government, there will be totally a new face in the island. And that's what they believe, that they will be able to convince to the people that this is totally a government minus Rajapaksa family at all in the cabinet. There will be no one from Rajapaksa family. But there, in fact, there is a section of amongst those protesters we have been hearing, very few were against Ranil Wickremesinghe. Largely, there was one voice, only the Rajapaksa administration. But since he has been affiliated with that, he was appointed by the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and that perhaps one factor which, which also bringing a concern amongst the ruling party. If Ranil Wickremesinghe is proposed and if he is made, perhaps there could be, another round of protest or escalation back on the streets from Colombo to all these places.
And would you say that, while there is a moment of calm and peace at the moment, the turmoil is far from over in Sri Lanka?
Well, it only depends who will be the next president and who will be the next prime minister. But yes, since there were dialogue, the people were agreed that until and unless you resolve this situation, unless there is normalcy back on the street, you will not have tourists. One of the key factor, contributing in Sri Lanka's economy is the tourism. And right behind me you see the deserted streets. Again, because of the fuel crisis, there is no tourists. So first idea is to let's have tourists. Again, we are on social media, we are seeing trends how the expatriates of Sri Lanka from across the globe sending back dollars to this country, and that has been welcomed by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. So all these aspects are very significant, particularly boosting tourism and also beginning business back on track, beginning the export, agriculture policies changing into that. We are seeing a new policy as far as fuel distribution is concerned. All these things gradually are being worked upon, and that perhaps was the idea when they realized, the president has realized there is no point of protesting at the moment. And they all vacated the, the significant heritage government buildings, and they all are back their home. Now everyone is just watching, let there be new government. They're going to give them time from 6 months to 1 year, that soon they will be back again. What island was known for, again back to tourism, its normal days, but the challenges are still remain very high.